Working hard on my stump, what's the problem? I ain't have shit to show, being modest. Now it's grams of the wax for my conscience. Brown James in LA, you're on college. I've been jumping on them planes like a hobby. Still moving with the pack like my partners. Just the John on them jets cause we wildin'. But the bowl is a party on the island, moment of silence. So good, get back to the topic. Grew up, it was me and Flocka. Grandma's and Big T, this my mama. I ain't even for the pain when my pops flipped. Knew his name, that's it, never bothered. Mom said, you the man, son, you got this. Ever since I found a way to go and pop shit. Hold up, blaze through a whole zip. Took a seat at the table of my first flip. Days in red roof with my first whip. Spent the money with the gang, never post pics. Seen a change in the game, had to coach it. Never let them take my wangs in the mold, bitch. Ever made in a month, nigga. Used to serve him at the minute just to front, nigga. Goddamn. Had to grow up quick, I made my own rules. Had my first child, got it jumping with music. Can't really hang with nobody who losing. I thought by now that you would go and get it, but I could hardly see niggas this distant. Know you get cropped if you not in the picture. And I made that tag and went got a bag. Shots to the Henny and OG prescriptions, put rebel shit on the map. Took a leap from where I started at. Started ballin' now, Chris Paul and Cats. Got him steady calling for the mold, but I'm on a roll, gotta call him back. And that's all fact.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. All carry-on items should now be stowed securely, either in an overhead bin or under the seat in front of you. All aisles, exits, and bulkhead areas should now be clear. All electronic devices should now be turned off and stowed, as they may interfere with the aircraft's navigational and communication systems. Once airborne, we'll let you know when you may use approved electronic devices, but note that some items may not be used at any time during the flight. You'll find a list of approved devices in the in-flight
information section. Welcome everybody to another edition of the Pocket Locker Podcast. Y'all do let me know how things are out there in human land. Let me know if the audio's all right on your end. Doing things a little different, so I want to make sure everything's all right. It's a little bit weird on mine. Let me see. Well, I don't hear anything. Let me know if the audio's all right. Yeah, it sounds all right. I think we're all right. I think we all right. Listen, gang, we're gonna jump right into it because we got a lot to get to, and we're really gonna talk about it today. Yeah, I'm all the way up in it today, y'all. Get ready. We're gonna get ourselves into some good old-fashioned trouble tonight. Because look, y'all, we got to talk about them boys. They at it again, y'all. Our favorite people, the white boys that dominate our space. Y'all know the white boys. We love them. They're doing what they do. Lately, there's been a lot of attention given to one Alex O'Connor, and it feels like the white boys are finally coming around, y'all. They're finally seeing Alex O'Connor's change in direction, and they're trying to reconcile with, trying to figure out what's going on. Now, those of you who've been tuning in for a while, as you know, we clocked this Alex O'Connor shift a long time ago. Feels like years ago at this point. It's got to be a hot minute, but you got to remember, y'all, this is not something that's happened overnight. You got to remember, the man was Cosmic Skeptic. Okay, his brand was, I'm Cosmic Skeptic. I'm calling everything out. I'm chopping everything down. I'm debunking everything. I'm getting rid of everything. Okay, that's what Alex O'Connor was on. Okay, then he shifted away. I'm no longer gonna call myself Cosmic Skeptic, and now I'm gonna go by my, I guess, legal name, Alex O'Connor. Okay, we clocked this when he first made that shift, y'all. We was like, look, the man saw that this whole atheist thing really wasn't taking him where he wanted to go. Y'all got to understand that, like, the market forces are such that there's really not a real viable economic avenue for the type of anti-religious, truly secular content that's going to speak truth to power. Now, for most of us, We don't really give a shit. That's not really a consideration. We have these things called dun 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 jobs. All right. At least those of us that can. We're trying. Some of us are between jobs or looking for work or whatever, but that's the game plan. The game plan is to get yourself a job, an occupation, something, you know what I'm saying? Go out there, really be somebody out in the world, make you a few dollars and pay your goddamn bills, then get up on the internet, get up on social media and say what you got to say. Okay. And we could just keep it pushing like that. That's how we get down mostly in this community. All of us just, even like I'm saying, even those of us that ain't got jobs, we don't become YouTube grifters. We just keep looking for work. Maybe we're the suckers, or maybe most of us belong to demographics where we know YouTube is just not a real career option for us. That could be part of it too. All right. But for the people that are really down to the commitment for the career, for the real occupation, they just all in, they gonna just do YouTube for a living, they pay their bills with YouTube. First off, most of them got the complexion for the protection. Let's just call it what it is. They got that complexion for the protection. So they be seeing what other people who have the complexion for the protection be doing, and they start to get envious. They start to be like, man, they're moving and shaking over here, man. They're getting, millions of subs, or they're getting on different podcasts, they're getting on different shows, they're getting on different mainstream appearances. So anyway, when we saw this shift, we knew what time it was. We knew Alex O'Connor had decided that being a liberal or progressive, atheist wasn't paying the bills, he had hit the glass ceiling, you could call it, right? He hit the glass ceiling, not imposed, what I'm saying? Again, he's a white guy, so he could move up. There's different opportunities, okay? But those different opportunities were not for the type of speak truth to power, real deal atheism he was doing at the time. All right. So look, let's just take a little trip. Okay. Here's our little scene change right here. We're gonna get up in here and see what we got to see tonight. Do what we got to do. I don't really understand the design of this scene, to be honest. The design of this scene is a bit confusing for me. Hang on, I don't like that. Nah, we like this. This is kind of like the it's just a little weird. It's just a little weird to me, y'all. Anyway, let's go to his channel. I'm gonna show y'all what I'm talking about. Okay, let's go over here. Y'all can see my YouTube feed. Bunch of religious nonsense and a bunch of drumming stuff and a bunch of food stuff. Okay, go to Alex O'Connor. Okay, see, it was at Cosmic Skeptic. So he was Cosmic Skeptic, but see, I really think he really believed that he could not get to 2 million subs as Cosmic Skeptic. I think he was capping out wherever he was, little 1 point, whatever he was at, or maybe it was even before 1 million, because this change happened a while ago, right? Now go look at the description now. Hi, I'm Alex O'Connor. I host the Within Reason podcast featuring guests including Richard Dawkins, Rainn Wilson, don't even know who that is, Sam Harris, and Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? Notice how, yes, you could say he tries to put up the big names, but he puts up big names that really are not really down for the cause, right? Richard Dawkins is a famous transphobe. He had a bunch of other famous apologists in here, like, I don't know, all the people he's talked to, like the Connectleys and the famous apologist or whatever. Sam Harris, another famous transphobe. Neil deGrasse Tyson, an atheist who won't say he's an atheist because he's like one of the most annoying non-religious people. So you could see the shift now. To be honest, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, it's a little bit more centrist leaning right now than it was. At one point, it was really just a who's who list of famous right-wing white boys. So he made it very clear that he wasn't fucking with really hardcore atheist anymore. He especially wasn't fucking with the whole secular humanist thing, like all of them people that want to centralize marginal. Nah, he didn't want to do that. He wants to sit down with the transphobes and the homophobes and the cultural Christians and the people who want to complain about wokeness, right? And then he wants to have these good, nurtured debates about, does the Bible endorse slavery? Does the Bible command genocide? So this is just a bunch of bullshit. And he just wants to make sure he can get onto Pierce Morgan and like do that whole thing. It's so annoying. All right, so what's the problem then, y'all? Why are we even talking about this? Because like you said, like we said, I clocked this a long time ago. We're talking about the fact that people are just coming around and talking about this, and they're having a hard time. Particularly our man Brandon over here at Mindshift. Brandon seems to really be struggling with this emotionally. And so this is where I got to call out y'all white boys, because it's like, if y'all can't see the direction, if y'all can't tell when these motherfuckers change direction and they switch up on us, if y'all can't tell what it's about and where it's going, I need you to take a back seat. I need you to take a back seat. I notice how you make your money. I know you're, because what I'm really seeing is the crying, the weeping, the not knowing how to take all of this. What it is it's an emotional response from these content creators. It's these content creators themselves. Okay, their aspirations, y'all, let's be clear, their aspirations are to sell us up the river. Okay, all of them want to really be in the Joe Rogan adjacent kind of space. Okay, you got to remember that's where a lot of the motivation for this whole world of independent podcasts even comes from to begin with. Okay. And then even when they look on the social side of things or the political side of things, right, their heroes are the Kyle Kalinskis of the world. And who's Kyle Kalinske? Most people know Kyle Kalinske because Kyle Kalinske used to get down with Joe Rogan. Kyle Kalinske used to get down with Joe Rogan. They had their little tiff, their little split. Kyle went independent, left leaning. Joe Rogan went hardcore, right leaning, and now Kyle Kalinske bashes Joe Rogan a lot. So people really feel like, oh, he's the left's answer to the Rogan spear. But the left only knows about him to begin with because he was fully locked into that Rogan spear. Right. So now all of them see the new writing on the wall, right? And the new writing on the wall is they shit all over the new atheism, and they shit all over the new atheism because it was too woke. It was too brash. It was too like debate me. It was too antagonistic towards Christianity, right? The real problem with the new atheists was actually it was a bunch of fucking, again, conservative ass white men who all ended up being fucking conservative, fucking bigoted neocons who then became fucking straight up Islamophobes who then basically morphed into cultural Christians. But they're still standing in, they're still useful as controlled opposition. It's still useful to take the new atheist movement, bash it for being way too woke, and it'll capitulate to that because the motherfuckers that did it weren't woke to fucking begin with. All right. So now there's this new thing, and the new thing is analytical atheism. That's the name the Christians have given it. The Christians, because again, it's controlled opposition, because, again, they're sleeping with the enemy, because again, their ambitions are to sell us up the motherfucking river. Okay. They're controlled opposition. So now they love being love bombed by right wingers and told that the analytical atheist is happy to engage in the discussions and in the conversations with Christian doctrine. Okay. In other words, the analytical atheists are happy to set secular humanism and the needs and rights of marginalized people aside so that they can have intellectual conversations with Christo-fascists, because they're culturally Christo-fascist. See, they're not Christians, but they're culturally Christo-fascist. They say cultural Christian, but let's just call it what it is. They're culturally Christo-fascist. In other words, they're white men who really just want to uphold the status quo, but they don't want to have to follow along with the silly church shit. So what happens is now they're seeing where Alex O'Connor's going, and now they're all weeping and crying and coping, and they're weeping and crying, coping, because they're going, wait, is this where we really have to go to follow in Alex O'Connor's footsteps? I was following in Alex O'Connor's footsteps because I wanted to be the next great atheist white guy that gets love bombed and brought on to Pierce Morgan and told what a great, good atheist debater I am, because I too have traded in my quote unquote new atheism for the more sophisticated and bridge building analytical atheism. And if Alex O'Connor turns out to be a fucking grifter sellout, then I have to admit that maybe the direction I've been going in is also the direction of motherfucking grifter sellouts. So I have to find some sort of emotional way to convince myself that Alex O'Connor is doing something other than being a fucking sellout grifter. And so now you're forced to make content where you on your motherfucking channel, in your motherfucking space, where you're supposed to show us that you motherfucking got the goods. You're now crying and trying to figure out and doing the backflips and doing the breakdowns because you can't see this motherfucker selling us up the river. So I'm left between a rock and a hard place. Either you literally don't see what's going on, in which case your ass needs to take a back seat and just admit that you literally are not good enough at reading the room to even have a voice in this conversation any longer. Or you have some sort of emotional attachment to the direction that this man is going in, that you need to provide cover for him going in that direction because you are planning to go in this direction too. Neither of these is really a good outcome, but it's really, I'm running out of other ways to see it. So let's go ahead and jump in so y'all can hear this man crying about Alex O'Connor.
What I've realized is this is far more interesting and intricate. And I would say plausible than I'd given it credit for before. What I've realized is this is far more interesting and intricate. And I would say plausible than
interesting, intricate, and plausible. Y'all, we are in for a motherfucking time tonight. I got to get up out of here. I got to keep this to a reasonable length. But trust me, gang, this shit is fucking gross. Look, Mo, cheers. You're gonna need some alcohol. You're gonna need something because this shit is, it's gonna be rough.
And I'd given it credit for before.
That's a quick excerpt from Alex O'Connor's most recent conversation with Bear Grylls. The full episode of that came out 2 weeks ago, and then he posted kind of a short, which he titled, "I've Realized Christianity is More Plausible Than I Thought," on his More Alex O'Connor channel. So I'm not...
Now, what the fuck are we talking about, my guy? Brandon, what the fuck are we talking about, my guy? When the motherfucker that used to be called Cosmic Skeptic turns around and tells me I've realized Christianity is more plausible than I thought, we're done. We're motherfucking done here. You've motherfucking lost the goddamn plot. You're a motherfucking goddamn grifter. It's very clear you reached the hard atheism growth cap on the algorithm and realized that being a big meanie about atheism was never going to get you that invitation on the Piers Morgan tonight. Because let's be clear, this is about getting that invitation to be on Piers Morgan tonight. And so motherfuckers decided, fuck all that new atheism bullshit. Oh, I'm totally willing to have a conversation about Christianity. Matter of fact, Christianity is more plausible and sophisticated than I originally had assessed. Y'all, this is why these motherfuckers suck. Let me be so motherfucking clear with y'all. Let me change scenes real quick so that it's just me. Let me be so motherfucking clear with y'all right the fuck now. These motherfuckers are so bad at this, y'all. Gang, hold on to your seat. Get ready for this. I'm taking another fucking shot because y'all ain't even ready for what I gotta say to you for real. These motherfuckers are so bad at this, gang. We are moving in the wrong direction. Y'all heard what the fuck I said. Deal with it. Chew it up and fucking swallow it because it's fucking good for you. These motherfuckers are so bad at this, gang. We are moving in the wrong direction. Christianity is such fucking bullshit. There's no evidence to support it, not a single rational fucking argument. And instead of these motherfuckers successfully arguing in ways that put these people to shame and get them to undedicate their lives to Christ and leave the Christian bullshit, Because that's what the fuck you should be doing. If you were good at this, you would be getting motherfuckers to walk away from religion. Instead, y'all are so bad at this that not only are you not getting motherfuckers to walk away from religion, you have spent so much time knee deep in the white man's fucking Christo-fascist brain rot that now your atheist ass wants to get on your fucking channel in front of 1.5 million motherfucking subscribers and actually Christianity is more plausible than I thought. Oh yeah, actually I'm moving in your direction. Actually, maybe we should become Christians because it's just making so much more sense to me now. This is like being such a horrible math teacher that you go to teach motherfuckers calculus and they forget algebra. That's what y'all motherfuckers are. You are the fucking math teachers who are so bad at teaching calculus that your students forget fucking algebra. You are so bad at fucking deconstructing religion that you're now convinced it's more plausible. Or maybe it's a fucking grift. But apparently Brandon can't see that. And I know y'all love y'all some Brandon because he's such a nice white dude too. But Brandon, I'm a fan. I think your content's cool, bro. But I'm questioning your competence, my dude. You really having this hard of a time seeing through this?
Taking this out of context, you can go and watch the full episode. This part comes right after him kind of talking about how he matured and grew up from the new atheist movement. And through his podcast, he has realized that Christianity is more plausible than he thought. And I want to talk about
Every say, oh my fucking God, from Christy discovering fascists are bad to Drew realizing that theists are bad faith. If I had a nickel for every giant head who quote unquote suddenly realized stuff we've been saying for years, Amber, I'm with you, babe. I'm with you. It's just fucking crazy.
This today.
And for years we've been saying this shit.
Set the stage a little bit. And I don't think I'm the only one, have noticed, especially it seems like over the course of the last year, a major tone shift or change from Alex, where there is this bridge building with Christians, which I have no problem with. I think that I share a lot of things with Alex in this.
And that's your first mistake. I'm sorry, gang. I gotta break down the fucking toxic white optimism. This is the toxicity of your privilege. It is the toxicity of your motherfucking privilege that y'all are so comfortable and enamored with the shit that is ruining the motherfucking world. You are watching as the Christo-fascists have put in America to a stage where we've repealed Roe v. Wade. We've got motherfucking pedophiles literally having Congress go on vacation so we don't have to hear about what a fucking pedophile the goddamn president is. Okay. The point where university professors like myself are literally afraid of ICE showing up and black bagging our motherfucking students. Mass shootings happening like just every other fucking day. I stopped even paying attention. Has there been a recent mass shooting, y'all? I literally don't pay attention anymore because they happen so motherfucking frequently. Trans people are literally just, I don't know, did we put them in the oven yet? Nobody knows because there's so few fucking trans people. Most of the motherfuckers don't even know a goddamn trans person. But nevertheless, they pretty much going to put them in the ovens anyway, and then there's just going to be no trans people left, I guess. And you motherfuckers literally want to pat yourselves on the back because you're so happy to find common ground with these people. You're so happy to build bridges to them. Yeah, why? Because they're fucking ruining the goddamn planet. Doesn't affect you. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. If you can see all the fucking bullshit they're doing and come up to them with that honky-dory ass motherfucking smile and you're happy to find middle ground, get the fuck away from me and stay the fuck away from me because you're fucking dangerous. Playing pokers with Nazis is not how you fucking ended World War II.
respect. I too find Jesus as a historical figure
Listen to this
fascinating.
shit.
I too
find Jesus as a historical figure that we don't even know if he fucking existed or not fascinating. Listen to these people. These are your atheist heroes? These are the motherfuckers that's going to help us end Christo-fascism. We are fucked. We are fucked. I need about 15 liberal, leftist, Marxist versions of Christopher Hitchens. Not this soft-ass bullshit. What? Listen to this shit again.
I share a lot of things with Alex in this respect. I too find Jesus as a historical figure fascinating. I too love truly the story of Jesus. If you just look at it,
I love the story of Jesus. Give me the true Christian bullshit, Brandon. Right? Is that what it is? If we just listen to the true heart of Jesus, to the real message of the gospel, to how much Jesus was just love, and he just loved everybody, and love, and Jesus was fucking wonderful, and oh my God, I just love it. Motherfucker, go back to motherfucking church with this bitch ass bullshit. I'm sorry, I plan to be nice to Brandon because everybody likes Brandon. I don't give a fuck. What I'm hearing is fucking infuriating. I have no fucking need for ex-evangelical motherfuckers that are crowning themselves the fucking voices of the anti-religious fucking movement, talking about how much they love the story of Jesus. Get the fuck out of my face with that bullshit.
As a narration, if you look at it as myth, because we can't.
Yeah, if you look at it just as myth, you know, where he's calling women dogs and being a fucking crazy ass false prophet and being a fucking weird crazy man and saying all the crazy bullshit, and then you buying into the shit of what he was so wise because what he said you should fucking pay a fucking laborer the day's worth in wages. You should render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. What are you about to tell me that mundane bullshit was so fucking revolutionary that we should fucking take 3, 4, 5 history classes just to study the historical impact of this man? Do y'all hear how fucking disgusting this is?
Know how much of those details are true. Plus, we can see where authors took liberty to tie things back to the Old Testament, etc. It is a really, really cool story from John the Baptist,
putting family members against each other for not loving him more. Just beautiful stuff. Just beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff we should all emulate.
All the way to Jesus in the garden questioning his father if there's any other way. The stuff that happens at the Last Supper, the betrayal, like this is an incredible story. No doubt about it. And I too think that something in that region at that time with a man that probably had this or a similar name happened, and that it was unique, and that this man was probably ahead of his time. But in no way
ahead of his time. Ahead of his time. Really? Really, gang? That's what he said. That's what he just said. That this weird fucking illiterate backwards ass false fucking prophet was ahead of his time. Gang, we are between a rock and a fucking hard place. If MAGA Mike Johnson is on my right and motherfuckers like Brandon are to my left, I am fucked.
Think that the actual claims of Christianity are plausible or more plausible,
what up,
whatever that means. And in no way does it.
Also, y'all need to subscribe to Look at the Trees. Look at the Trees is the only motherfucker out here that is basically like, who the fuck else used to do that shit? There's only so many people that have fire channels but don't even really do all the content on their channel. Like, Look at the Trees drops videos and they're good, but the post, you gotta subscribe and follow the post, y'all. The post, the posts are so good.
Make me want Christianity to be true. And that's actually where the story with Alex starts for me. At the beginning of the year, I saw this clip.
My listeners know that I'm somebody who would love to be a Christian. I'd love for it to be true.
And it actually made me...
Bro, what do you... See, this is what I mean with the white boys, y'all. Listen, I get it. Y'all are emotional. But that's what we're here for. We're here to help y'all. We're here to help you process your motherfucking emotions, okay? Because that's clearly the problem here. Because the man said what he said. He said he's one of those people who wishes Christianity were true. That's what he said in English words all of us could understand. Now, what you're finna sit here and do is pretend that he was trying to say something other than what he said. Let's all listen again so we can hear what he said.
Man that probably had this or a similar name happened, and that it was unique, and that this man was probably ahead of his time. But in no way does that make me think that the actual claims of Christianity are plausible or more plausible, whatever that means. And in no way does it make me want Christianity to be true. That's actually where the story with Alex starts for me. At the beginning of the year, I saw this clip.
My listeners know that I'm somebody who would love to be a Christian. I'd love for it to be true.
And you hear how he said it too? He said, my listeners know that I would love to be a Christian. I would love for it. And he said, my listeners know. That was a very clear signal, y'all. That's what I'm telling you. How can you not hear where this is? Because everybody in here that's marginalized, even in the real allies, Trees, no AR, they hear this shit, they know exactly what time it is. Ember hears this shit, we know exactly what time it is. Why is it that y'all hear this shit and you don't know what time it is? Y'all hear this shit and y'all are like, I don't know. Well, I don't get why would he, I don't understand. That whole, I'm miffed and I just don't understand why you would say that's what's got to stop.
And it actually made me reach out to him because I wanted to investigate this. Alex is so
that mustache is a jump
smart.
scare.
He is so articulate that I don't think that this is a misspeak. And in fact, I know it's not. I've heard him say as much many other times. And there was one clip in particular.
And there's the confession to the problem. The first problem is you got to stop sucking these dudes off. You've got to stop with this. Well, I'm troubled by this, but he's so smart. He's just so much better than the rest of us. He's just so intelligent. He's such a goddamn genius. He's playing 6-dimensional chess, and I know I'm just not smart enough to keep. Bro, do you hear yourself, bro? You are a grown ass man talking about another grown ass man. Put your motherfucking pants on and save your splooging all over yourself for when you're in your room watching pornography like a normal individual. And stop this. Oh, Alex O'Connor is so smart. Oh, I'm gonna fucking ejaculate all over myself. Oh my God, he's so fucking smart. Bro, what are you talking about? He's a grown-ass man. He's a grown-ass man that's supposed to be making atheist content and just got up here and said that he wishes Christianity was true. And your response was to go on your channel and tell us how smart he is? Do y'all see the problem here? Y'all see the problem here? Y'all like Brandon himself.
And I just cannot
find. Let's see where Brandon is at. Brandon is at 49,000 views for this video. Very impressive. Okay, where's the Mind Shift Endeavor at right now? Is not popping up. That's a problem. How about you take me to the page?
And where someone asked him, what religion would you like to be true? Not to be confused
he's
with
got
more
both
recently.
His damn channels up here. All right, cool. It'll show me here. Click on that. What does it show me? 110,000 subs. Right? I'm very happy that I am over 1,000 subs. Brandon has basically 100 times as many subs as I have, which I'm totally cool with. But can you at least be good at this then? That's my problem. Because apparently only white boys make it to that level. Because apparently only white boys are that good at fucking debunking the most ridiculous bullshit ever. Yet somehow a motherfucker with 100,000 subs can look at a motherfucker that's grifting his way to 2 million subs. Hear that motherfucker that's grifting his way to 2 million subs say he wishes he was a Christian because he wishes he could believe how beautiful the story is. And his response is, well, damn, that motherfucker's just so much smarter than the rest of us. There must have been some super genius magic behind what he was saying. Who y'all need to retire.
When Ruslan asked him, what denomination would you pick? What religion would you like to be true? He can say none. He could say anything.
But AR, that's the plan in action, right? He wasn't going to sniff 2 million subs as Cosmic Skeptic, who was the newest flavor of new atheism. He got to 2 million because he rebranded himself as Alex O'Connor, the analytical atheist who's more than happy to engage with Christo-fascist on the beautiful merits of discussing the intellectual side of Christianity. So yeah, now he's at 1.75. And that's the shit that Brandon apparently doesn't see.
He says Christianity. Now he caveats it, and again, take this with a grain of salt because I cannot find it, and it's been a while. He caveats it with something to the effect of, but of course, not all this stuff in the Old Testament. But here is the distinction. You can't get away from that. And this is where I feel like Alex is not being consistent. You have seen just as much as I have. Alex.
Again, the refusal. He's not being consistent. No, Brandon, he's being a dishonest piece of shit. And why can't you say that? That's why I'm calling your ass out. Because you're too following behind his motherfucking breadcrumbs that you're trying to figure out. You're trying to figure out how to make this a shit sandwich. And to be honest with you, I'm gonna take it even further than that. Notice how I came out on the stream today and said, "Hey gang, I gotta tell you what the fuck is going on." And I said the shit with Alex O'Connor's fucked up and Brandon's fucked up for not being able to call it for what it is. Very clear what my message is today. What is Brandon doing, gang? What Brandon is actually doing is saying, "Oh my goodness, I see this change in Alex O'Connor's direction, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I don't want to call it I don't want to call it bad faith because he's just so smart and he's just so great and he's just so wonderful and I love him so much. And please call me if you need help when you get invited on Piers Morgan. Maybe if Piers Morgan and Joe Rogan call you, you could say, hey, do you mind if I bring my friend Brandon with me?" Right? So Brandon is so committed to not offending or alienating the larger content creators than he is, that he's actually putting it on his audience. As we're going to listen, you're going to continue to hear, he's really saying, I'm putting all this in front of you because he needs his audience to tell him that Alex O'Connor is a piece of shit who's moving in a bad direction, who's fucking grifting, because Brandon can't commit to that himself. Because that would endanger his ability to grow in that direction. So he feels conflicted because he wants to follow in that direction, but he's realizing it's fucking full of shit. But he can't come out and just say himself that he sees through Alex O'Connor's bullshit and call him out. So instead, he's going to put all this case out there in front of the audience. That way, he wants everybody to tell him in the comments section that Alex O'Connor's a piece of shit. That way, when he really says something about it, he'll be like, oh, well, I got backup because it's what the whole community said. Brandon, that's a fucking coward move, bro. Get on your motherfucking channel and tell us what the fuck you think. Don't be a fucking coward and put it on the goddamn comment section. You know Alex O'Connor won't call you back because you ain't big time enough for him to take you seriously. But now you want to put the onus of calling him out on people who don't even have platforms and audience. Y'all are some motherfucking cowards.
Argue very well for the immorality of the God of the Old Testament, for the issues with that particular deity, Yahweh.
I get sick to death of people hand waving.
Yeah, this is Brandon pulling a Trump blue Bubba on Alex O'Connor. You know, I got to stop that.
Away this genocide by some vague reference to the fact that Jesus came along to do something which somehow kind of undoes the immorality of it.
You can't say, I want Christianity to be true, or I like Jesus's story and impact so much that I think it's more plausible, without both of those sentiments tracking all the way back to Yahweh. If Christianity is plausible, then so is a God who commands genocide.
Me and Patty did a fantastic show together. Patty, let the people know what the game plan is for that, and y'all make sure y'all check that episode out when it drops.
Plausible, so is hell or annihilation. So is original sin. So is submissive hierarchy, divine command theory, salvation being based off belief, which even Alex admits one cannot control. Salvation you cannot control equals a lack of free will, even within the God system, that I know Alex takes issue with. And so I just can't.
But bro, you just sat up in here and said that it's beautiful. This is why I can't take these guys seriously, gang. Counter apologetics is dead, and these motherfuckers are the ones that killed it, because it's supposed to hurt. I'm gonna repeat, it's supposed to hurt. You have to understand the stranglehold that religion has on the life of believers. And you have to understand that our mission is to rip that away from them. And they will never be comfortable in that exercise. And that is the problem with this atheist community, is that it wants permission from the religious to deconvert them in a way that they are comfortable with. Never going to work. Never going to work. Your mission, if you so choose to accept it, is to get out in the motherfucking streets, even if it's the streets of YouTube, and give voice to the fucking problems of religion so that the religious domination of our lives can be brought to a motherfucking end immediately. Did you hear what the fuck I said? I said immediately. I'm not uncomfortable living one more motherfucking day under Christo-fascism. I realize I will have to, but I'm not going to provide the cover, permission, or tolerance for anybody to tell me I got to keep living under this shit. The goal is to destroy this shit pronto. So all the motherfuckers that want to compromise, meet them in the middle, talk about how beautiful their stories are, talk about being culturally fucking Christo-fascist, maintain the status quo, all of y'all need to get the motherfuck out the goddamn way. You are the motherfucking problem. You are why this secular humanist movement is failing. And again, they are so bad at this that they are moving in the wrong direction. We are supposed to be able to look at the scalps that Alex O'Connor is claiming and say, look at all these motherfuckers that used to be religious, started listening to Alex O'Connor and are no longer religious. Instead, we have Alex O'Connor coming out to us after years of engaging in this space with almost 2 million motherfucking subscribers telling us, actually, Christianity is more plausible than he thought. Y'all are so bad at this. We are moving in the wrong direction.
Figure out where this disconnect is. And I don't know exactly why I'm talking about it. Maybe it's just to get feedback. Maybe it's because, and I did this February of this year. I went back and looked. February 5th, I sent Alex an email asking him to have a conversation with me about this, to help clear this up for me. Why someone who so understands the issues with the religion would say time and time again that he wishes Christianity would be true. And I didn't hear back, and that makes sense to me. I can't keep up with all of my emails, and he is on such another level and stage. The kinds of requests that he is probably answering are obviously the ones with these huge reaches, which...
And I'm sorry, bro, that's what all of this comes down to. Like a lot of people who analyze Kyle Kulinski and say, I think a lot of his career is motivated by being spurned by the Joe Rogan spear. This is what this feels like. It feels like you're really a little bit hurt that Alex O'Connor didn't care enough to answer to you, which he's not, because again, he just doesn't care about our side. Like, our side is not profitable to him. He cannot grow anymore. He became literally one of the biggest atheist channels on the internet, and there was nowhere left to go. The only way to go up was to lean into conservatives, lean into Christians, lean into the right, and that's what he did. Okay? And now you want the same thing. And so this whole thing comes down to a little bit scorned by him and a little bit like, I don't know what to do, because I also am not going to be able to grow beyond a certain point unless I too am allowed to go in that direction to appeal to people in those spaces. And he's realizing he can't do that while maintaining the full integrity of understanding how fucked up the other side really is. You're going to have to pick a side, buddy.
I, at that time, didn't have and still don't have anywhere near what he's been doing. So no problem. But it's not like I'm just trying to attack Alex here. I genuinely respect Alex. I think he's probably the best atheist communicator out there. But again, if we go back to this noticed shift, if I'm being generous, I would say it's under the sake of...
No, I don't think Alex's soft take has any potential. So don't worry. Don't worry. I know my tack is a little bit hard for people, but don't worry. We're not losing anything. People don't change when they're comfortable. Comfort doesn't lead to change. And you also have to understand that when you're thinking about their comfort, they're the wrong motherfuckers, right? We're still centering the wrong people. When you center the people who they're harming, then you realize the urgency, right? When you realize, when you look at your gay friends and your trans friends and black people, and people are losing their rights, people are being black bagged, people are being snatched off the streets, people are being fired, people are losing their housing. I don't give a fuck about their comfort anymore, y'all. I don't care. They're wrong. They're wrong. Are we adults? Oh, because part of being an adult is understanding you're supposed to be motherfucking uncomfortable when you're motherfucking wrong. So who is it that gets to be wrong, gets to lie, gets to oppress other people, and then gets to demand that everyone make them comfortable? Number one, only the most privileged motherfuckers in the history of the goddamn planet. And number two, that is the exact problem. In other words, the problem isn't just that these people are wrong. Part of the problem is that we continue to reinforce that they should be comfortable when other people are calling them out. We've got to stop coddling people who have oppressive ideas. They are grown adults. They made their bed and now they have to lay in it. And yes, I'm sorry that means we have to have uncomfortable conversations, but they're not going to change any other way. It's just, history is replete with these examples. I wish we could get people to change through having reasonable conversations with them. And I highly encourage you to try. And matter of fact, that is my demand. Every motherfucker that wants to come at me and say, Jay, we gotta do something sustainable or practical, whatever your motivation for thinking we need to soft pedal this shit is, cool. But now if that's gonna be your stance, I need you to try it. Because what happens is people say in their head, oh, I think I could make this work. What they don't realize is in practical aims, when you really do try it, you realize very quickly it doesn't work. So I want people who think that way to at least try it. Because if you try it and it's effective, then you can come back to the rest of us and say, hey, I had this really great conversation with the Christian. They were super reasonable. I dropped some really heavy, solid logic on them. I gave them some evidence about how Christianity is harmful. They called me back a week later and they told me, man, I've been really thinking heavily about a lot of things you said. And yeah, I'm starting to really question, maybe I need to change my ways. Then they called me back 2 weeks later and told me they're no longer Christian. When I start getting that story, I'll start believing. But I think like most of you, you're going to find, like I did, that we've all tried this. And when you try it, it really doesn't work. It's like talking to a fucking wall. And honestly, I don't think necessarily being mean and nasty works better either. I think there's some people who it's a necessary part of the corrective process. But I actually believe it's a necessary step in the corrective process of disengaging from them. I think the ultimate answer is to just move on without them. The ultimate answer is to make the world a better place in spite of them. The answer is to decenter them. It's to stop focusing on them. But I do think you try as a first pass, try being friendly, try inviting them out for coffee, try having dinner with them, try whatever you think you should try. Go for it. Feel the disappointment and live with it. Try again. I got family members. I done tried 15 different nice approaches with them over the course of 10, 15 years. And then eventually you take a harsher stance. And you say to them real seriously, like, I think this is all a lie. I think this shit is evil. You confront them with the real shit. Your Bible does endorse slavery. Your Bible doesn't command genocide. Your God does command women that are rape victims to marry their rapist. You hit them with the hard. You hit them with the real. You know what you're going to learn about that? That doesn't work either. They're going to turn into these nasty, disgusting, what's the term I like to use? Christian, I can't think of the word. Fuck me. But it's basically like when they basically say that, like, oh, if there's no God, what's wrong with rape? Or if I didn't believe in God, I'd be doing all these terrible things. Or I hope if somebody proved to me that it wasn't true, I'd find a way to believe it anyway. Right? Like nihilism. I call it Christian nihilism. Right? Like they throw their hands up like, oh, if I can't be right, then what's the fucking purpose of being a decent person? Oh, if I'm not right, then what the fuck is the purpose of being a contributing member of society? Right? And you will find that even telling them about the ugliness will not make them change their mind. Even telling them where their Bible is, and so you'll come to the harsh realization that I've come to, is that believers don't actually care if their religion is true or not. It's just that most of us haven't dared to have enough honest conversations with them to get to the point where we can realize and accept for ourselves that, in fact, they don't care if their religion is true or not. And they also don't care if it's moral or not. They don't care if their religion is evil. I know that people don't like to hear that, but that's the truth. So I think when you realize just how much of a fool's errand it is, you just realize, like, we just have to move on without these people. Ironically, that feeling, the FOMO, the fact that the world has moved on without them and just doesn't give a shit anymore, that is the thing that will get most of them to leave their faith, if anything.
Of intellectual humility, or again, perhaps bridge building, trying to be better heard by the religious. But to what end? And what is being sacrificed in the meantime? He's still not a Christian. He makes that abundantly clear.
I'm still not a Christian.
But by saying the things that he has said, it leads all of the apologists to saying things like this.
What's forming is Alex O'Connor's going to become Christian. And I really like Alex O'Connor.
He's very charismatic and very sweet guy.
But that to me is a good sign, because the fact that he's very sharp, he's all these great things, but he doesn't have hardcore answers to all of those questions. He's obviously curious. He probably hangs out with more Christians than he hangs out with atheists. The moment that he really starts to keep following that, he's going to become Christian. There's no new atheism. The new atheism is old and it's dead.
That's one of like a billion clips that I could play for you where Alex has this effect. And it's really interesting, and this isn't why I made the video, but many times I get comments that are like, look at you, look how close-minded you are. You should be an atheist like Alex. He's so open and kind. And that's fine. If I'm considered more dogmatic than Alex O'Connor, I really don't care. Because again, we still have...
But time out, buddy. See, this is, I'm sorry, this is more of the white boy fart sniffing. This is more white boy fart sniffing. I said it again, white boy fart sniffing, where you're now watching controlled opposition, bro. Have you not been paying attention to anything? This is the thing. This is what I'm saying, y'all. This is the problem when your leaders are part of the adult Bible study crowd. Have you been paying attention to what's going on in the world? Brandon, the week you released this, what the fuck was going on in the world? I'll tell you what the fuck was going on in the world. The Democrats just trounced the Republican in an off-year fucking election and had Mom Donnie win. In addition to Democrats all across the motherfucking country, up and down the motherfucking ballots. Okay? And then what happened right after that? The Democrats capitulated by having 6 or 8 Democrats who are not going to be up for re-election anytime soon or ever capitulate to the Republicans, fucked up our entire healthcare system for generations in the process. Why did that happen, Brandon? It happened because the motherfucking Democrats are fucking controlled opposition, who even when they have the leverage, even when they have the enemy by the balls, they just refuse to fucking win. And so what are you doing? You're out here fucking bloviating about fucking Alex O'Connor, who is literally motherfucking controlled opposition. You just played the clip of the motherfucking enemy saying, yeah, everybody needs to be more like Alex O'Connor. And eventually Alex O'Connor is going to be one of us. Alex O'Connor is going to be on our side. And they literally threw the entire new atheism movement under the bus. I don't give a fuck. That was also a bunch of fucking white boys who were fucking worthless to me. But the point is, they're trying to mold Alex O'Connor so that he becomes controlled opposition that the rest of us are compared to. And now you're going to pat yourself on the back saying, oh, well, if people say I'm a little bit more abrasive, or people say I'm a little bit more hardcore, or if people say I'm a little bit more confrontation than Alex O'Connor, that's okay. Motherfucker, you just sat up here talking about how beautiful Jesus's historical example is, and how beautiful the story of Christianity is, and how much you love it, and how much we need to build middle ground with the other side. Do y'all see this shit? So you got a motherfucker who's controlled opposition over here congratulating himself for being less controlled opposition than that motherfucker. I will not have that. No. You're not abrasive or offensive to anybody. You are Alex O'Connor light, motherfucker. You are Alex O'Connor light. Diet Alex O'Connor, okay? Great value Alex O'Connor. With your let's meet them in the middle, let's all be friends. I think Christianity is beautiful too.
No actual proof for the validity of Christianity. And there is no doubt that within the source material, the things I call out are there and are harmful. I'm not going to pussyfoot around it for the sake of attracting more Christian viewers. I would hope that my approach does that, because I truly care about truth, which Christians ideally should care about.
But
my stated goal might be very different than Alex's.
But again, they don't. Again, they don't. I'm sorry. Like, bro, like, how long have you been doing this, Brandon? How many conversations have you had? How many debates have you seen? How many conversations have you seen? When are we going to be honest about the fact that actually the Christians watching don't give a shit about the truth? That's what they need to be told, because that's the reality. I hate to say this. If they cared about the truth, they wouldn't be fucking Christians. And it's not helpful that then only certain motherfuckers who have small audience and are already marginalized are the only ones telling them the motherfucking truth. And you're sitting up there with 100,000 fucking subscribers, and they're not telling your Christian audience that, hey, I don't think y'all do care about the truth. Because how can Christians be watching you for months or years debunk Christianity in all of your content and still be Christian? See, this is what people don't want to talk about. This is why these atheists are so fucking bad. They're so fucking terrible because, again, they want to have Christian audiences. They don't want to alienate Christian audiences. So they then make content to speak to their Christian audiences in such a way to retain them, to keep them, to stay in their good graces. So then you suck at the actual mission of your fucking content because you're so busy appealing to the people who you need to be making uncomfortable.
I want to help people deconstructing, and sometimes they need the firmness of hearing what they have been taught that is so clearly untrue is actually untrue, and for these reasons. So Alex is softening, which is maybe the best term I can do, over the last year, or there's probably even been a longer time frame leading up to this. He's calling his maturity as he slams the new atheist movement. And I get the problems with new atheism, but I also don't even understand why we had a new atheism in general. Atheism is atheism. Just because four guys made some promises about what secular society could be, not that we've had the chance to see that come to fruition, doesn't mean that new atheism is stupid or wrong. It's just atheism. It's just people not believing in God, and specifically because of time and circumstance, having the ability to actually speak out about the harm of it without fear of being killed for it. So yeah, has Alex progressed a little bit since he was 17 or 18 and wanted to be a little hitch? Absolutely. But to throw all that out is kind of this silly nonsense as he's progressed to this moral high ground of, well, maybe it's more plausible than I thought and I want it to be true. It just hits me the wrong way. And so again, not sure the point here, but I'd love to hear your guys' feedback. Do you see an issue with this? Do you see this as a good thing that Alex, because of this approach, is able to reach?
This is where it's like the tail wagging the dog with these guys. Bro, again, we've been seeing this shit for years. So first off, again, I think he's being a coward by putting the onus on his audience. No, you are the motherfucking content creator. Call Alex's ass out with your whole motherfucking chest, or be prepared to deal with the consequences of the fact that you can't. Meaning like you're really not good at this. But now he wants to ask, hey, do y'all see it? Look, there's nothing wrong with getting the audience involved. I want to hear from y'all in the chat. You always want people to answer the question of the day, okay? But I'm not going to shirk my responsibility to tell you exactly what the fuck I think, okay? And if he can't see through this, like, that's just ridiculous. And I don't want to hear about how smart Alex is and all of this bullshit. Y'all are motherfucking atheists. Grow a goddamn pair. Do y'all understand that like Christianity is the weakest shit ever? That Bible's full of bullshit, that it's gross. It's so obviously filled with fucking lies. It's so obviously filled with immorality. It's so obviously fucking evil. Like if you literally like can't effectively and strongly argue against that, then like you're worthless. Because what the fuck are you going to do when there's some real nuance involved in the motherfucking situation? What are you going to do when you got to take a stand on a difficult issue and there really is meritorious arguments and evidence on both sides, and you just have to take a motherfucking stand based on what the fuck is right and ride out with the ambiguity? Y'all trying to find common ground with the most fucking the lightweight, easiest shit to debunk ever. Snakes don't talk, virgins don't get pregnant, the earth is billions of years old, humans evolved. We weren't created. Come on now.
A much wider religious audience and be heard. I think there's positive there. But again, the flip side of this is, I think, a weaker position when you try to separate. This is like Christian Apologetics 101. When you try to separate the interesting story, the somewhat decent morals of Jesus, it's not like there's no problems with Jesus, from the larger claims that would have to be true about Christianity to make it real, and also the baggage of the religion for wanting it to be true. And I hate to say this because I think he's leagues ahead of the average apologist, but it does seem like Alex is mixing things up in a way that we see Christians do very similar. This psychological desire, which he has stated multiple times, I want Christianity to be true, with epistemic plausibility. Christianity seems more plausible than before you had some of the new evidence. What evidence? Because what he points to is the impact of the story. But you can do the same thing for the impact of Muhammad's story for Islam. And when Alex was on with Rainn Wilson,
so then Brandon, tell me how much you love the story of Muhammad. And then tell me how much you love the beautiful narrative of Islam and all of the poetry contained in the Quran. No, I wouldn't do that. He wouldn't do that because there's no, he doesn't perceive that there's the same type of Islamic centered audience to appeal to. He doesn't feel the need to legitimize the cultural milieu that derives from Islam, right? But he feels the need to give that compromise to Christians, right? And you have to at some point just see it as ethnocentrism. I have to just see it as white boys who, while they're not believers, there's a certain degree of cultural weight that the cultural narratives from their culture appeal to them in ways that similar narratives, directly comparable narratives from other cultures don't. And you have that then combined with this cynical, controlled opposition. And I think our audience is seeing it wisely, which is that Brandon himself has to soft pedal his opposition of Alex because he himself wants Alex's audience. It's why, honestly, gang, I think a lot of us need to be really critical of the content we consume. I spend a lot less time watching this shit. It still pops up on my feed. I just watched like a different set of content creators. I got kind of sick of this kind of just the whole like atheist content kind of spear. I still watch debates and conversations, but I tend to lean much more into confrontational content creators that I feel will just call these things out for what it is, and content creators that don't seem to have such a huge focus on being rewarded as part of the algorithmic scene, if that makes sense. Like, there are people who just make content and it is what it is, large, small, or whatever. And then there's other content creators that are incredibly sensitive to sort of the politics of content creation. And I just think it's a real disservice to us, because I think it's important to be critical of what we watch. And what I see is a lot of the people that are, I call them heroes because I don't know a better way of putting it, but they're constantly sort of did you see so-and-so's latest video? Did you see so-and-so's video? And everybody's passing around their stuff, and they're supposed to be like the new flavor of the month content creator that I'm paying attention to. And for those of us like me that are like smaller content creators, especially if we're focused on social issues and marginalized people, and you got to have a real job and all that shit at the same time, like our stuff tends to stay smaller. And we've watched all of these people like leapfrog us like by leaps and bounds. Like we've seen them start for next to nothing and go from like nobody and next to nothing to being able to do this full time, and then like growing and growing to the point of like, you know, trying to level up. And for all of them, it's like, look, they start to look around like, okay, I'm at like 100,000 subs, but what do I got to do to get towards 500,000 subs? What do I got to do to get towards 1 million subs? What do I have to do to get to 2 million subs? And they realize that nobody around that really focuses on secular content, but also has that really hard edge, gets to a certain level, or maybe only very few people do, right? And so the much more well-worn path is the path of the moderate, the limp dick sort of fucking yeah, I'll have a conversation with anybody. And they start to see like, I can't be so abrasive because it's really the religious right that controls and gatekeeps access to the next level of success in media. And so they recognize that if they're constantly shut out of those circles, there'll always be a hard cap on how much they can grow. Now, most of us just have a fucking spine and a goddamn moral conviction, and we say, I'm just going to do what feels right. And if that means I don't grow, then I guess I don't grow. But it also means that if I do grow, I can do, I don't know, that thing called, I don't know, like being creative, and I don't know, like creating an audience, and I don't know, like building a following based on people that share your ideas and principles. And yeah, that may be a longer road to hoe, but if we grow, then at least we grew in the right way. And if we don't grow, then we can just maintain, you know, our need to work and have an occupation. And then we can be part of the fucking solution, and we can be free to get on here and say what the fuck we really need to say. But I honestly think a lot of these full-time atheist content creators, or people at least with the ambition to be full-time atheist content creators, are compromised. Let's face the realities. They are mostly white men who mostly come out of these hardcore religious fundamentalist type circles, where, to be honest, their great strength in life is their knowledge of that stuff. Like, Bible is still their greatest strength. A lot of them are undereducated or underqualified to have serious career success in other occupations. So this is it for them. And they recognize whose bread they need to butter to get opportunities at the next level. And so just like the motherfucking Democrats, they are controlled opposition. Some of them are explicitly controlled opposition, like Alex O'Connor, who just, I'm going to change my name, I'm going to change my branding, I'm going to change the type of content I create, I'm just going to full on lean into this enlightened centrist bullshit. Literally rebranding a new brand of atheism. Or they're like Brandon, and they're not directly being controlled, but they're controlled opposition in the sense of they preemptively capitulate to the other side. Sorry, they preemptively capitulate to the other side because they know that they can't grow beyond a certain point if they don't. So in either case, they're fucking controlled opposition.
Problem saying that he thinks Christianity is more plausible than Islam because Islam does not have as much historical backing. But Alex can't possibly think there's historical backing for the Exodus or even the resurrection. Having these appeals to majority, like how many people believe or how quickly the religion took off, even though we have great explanations with understanding how Rome was using it and things of this nature, it's nothing supernatural. It doesn't all of a sudden make supernatural claims more plausible. Desiring something says nothing about the truth of it. it. Finding some parts more compelling than before makes the resurrection no more compelling than it was, no more plausible than it was. Emotional desirability and epistemic justification are simply different categories. If we blur them, we risk confusing "I like the story" with "I think the evidence supports the story." This is what Christians do. This is what Alex had previously been fighting through. And again, I just can't understand. So maybe it's me. Help me. And this is what I wanted to speak with Alex about. The appeal to Jesus as a historical individual that lived and had a following with a very large impact is not the same as an appeal to Christianity. The Jesus aesthetic is not the same as the Christian doctrinal package. Liking Jesus doesn't make Yahweh more moral all of a sudden. In fact, again, that's what I mean by the doctrinal package. You then have to also be consistent, if you're talking about you want Christianity to be true, in understanding that the claim is that Jesus is God, that he is Yahweh, that he was there at creation, that it was him giving the condoning to Moses.
And again, just like Anna Kasparian, I feel like I'm doing Brandon versus Brandon. I'm going to need the Brandon at 10:59 at 11 minutes into this video to go back to minute 1 and listen to the Brandon from minute 1, because the same way the Brandon at minute 11 is like, bro, having a preference for the Jesus aesthetic does not make the shit more plausible. Bro, what the fuck were you talking about having a preference for the aesthetic? Bro, at the beginning of this video, you were talking about you love to build bridges to the fucking Christo-fascists. Let's call it what it is. You love to compromise. You love to meet them in the middle. You love centering your content and making it super Christian friendly. You love the story. You talk about how much you love the story and how beautiful the narrative is and all of this type of bullshit. You don't see the same fucking problem? You think we can really debunk Christianity by starting by conceding the point? When Christians tell us the number one evidence they have and the reason they believe is because the narrative is so impactful, it gives them hope, meaning, and purpose, and they find so much meaning. You think the fucking thing we should return that with is, yeah, you're right, it is a super beautiful story, I love it too? Controlled opposition, y'all.
About slavery, that it was him ordering David's wives to be raped as punishment. You don't get to like human Jesus and say, therefore, Christianity more plausible, and I want it to be true, while rejecting all of that, which he does. Again, it's so interesting to see such a otherwise logical brain making potentially, because again, there's nuance and he tries to give himself some outs here and there.
But again, he can't see it. Look, you land the plane, Brandon.
And I want it to be true while rejecting all of that, which he does. Again, it's so interesting to see such a otherwise logical brain making potentially, because again, there's nuance and he tries to give himself some outs here.
No, you're giving yourself some outs, bro. See the grift. Understand that the shit doesn't make any sense. There's a very clear explanation for all of this. He changed the direction of his content to make more fucking money. This is what he does for a living. This is his business. How are you not a critical enough thinker to recognize when somebody makes a business decision that is literally in the best interest of their business when you are motherfucking analyzing the product of their goddamn business? This is like being like, I know I'm sitting here eating a Snickers while watching a motherfucking wrestling event, but I can't figure out for the life of me why Snickers would spend $500,000 to put their logo in the middle of the wrestling ring. Come on, man.
There, but potentially the very same mistakes as the apologist he so perfectly critiques. Alex keeps saying things along the lines of something must have happened. Yes, something happened that led to the cultural impact of Jesus on multitudes of generations. But that doesn't mean something supernatural happened. And until we have any reason to believe that it does, these kinds of statements seem like pandering to Christians. And I
see, YouTube Park, I don't know why you had to go there, Park. I don't know why we got to talk about Cory Booker. But yeah, no, utter embarrassing disappointment. Just utterly embarrassing disappointment. Just literally, can't meet the moment, taking yearbook photos with fucking Bibi Netanyahu. That is, y'all are right though. That is Alex O'Connor. I felt the same exact way seeing Alex O'Connor sit down and glad hand the motherfucking connectless. It is the same shit. And again, like Cory Booker, somebody I've known literally my entire life, known since I was like 11 or 12 years old. I worked for the man a number of times. I consider him my mentor. He done fucked up. He done fucked up, and he's fucking ruined and sank everything we fucking built. The money from fucking Israel got his brain so fucked up, y'all. Is literally sinking his fucking hopes of being the president one day. He fucked up. See how easy that was? Sam Richards, I'm teaching sociology. Sam Richards is my mentor. Sam Richards taught me sociology, and he taught me the sociology of race. And then here I am, my first semester, me teaching sociology, and I got to watch motherfucking Sam Richards sit there and tell his class what a hero and admirable person Charlie fucking Kirk was. I watched that shit with PC and Tsunami and a bunch of people in Gather at the time. Y'all know what the fuck the conclusion was? My motherfucking mentor is fucking up. He's fucking betraying the goddamn mission. I don't know. I don't recognize this man. This person sounds like somebody that's forgotten everything they motherfucking taught me. That is the motherfucking reality of life. Is sometimes as a grown ass man, you have to look at the behavior of another grown ass man that you used to admire and say his ass done fucked it up. Point blank, period, end of story. Why is it that these atheist content creators are so incapable of doing that?
Don't get it. And I would hate to believe, and I am not accusing him of this, that it is him grifting in some way or money grabbing. It's because I don't believe that he's doing those things that I can't understand it. But the results are the same. The debate space loves these bridge builders. Christians want to hear that their religion could be true, and that even the most staunch atheist, the most popular atheist, is given it attention, and that even though he can't get himself to believe yet, there's always that ... He wishes he could. He wants to. And I love that part of his argument for his argument.
And then think about that. So think about that. Gang, name me who you think are the top 5 most famous atheists in the world. But with 2 million subs, I'm going to say Alex O'Connor gets to put himself on the motherfucking list. You know who else gets to put himself on the motherfucking list? Richard Dawkins. So now what sense does it make that 2 of the famous fucking atheists, one, the last stalwart and representative of the new atheism, that would be Richard Dawkins, for those keeping score, and Alex O'Connor, the poster boy of the new atheism, aka analytical atheism. One, Alex O'Connor says he loves Christianity, it's beautiful, and he wishes it was true. And it's making a lot more sense to him than it used to. He's finding it more plausible. Again, moving in the wrong goddamn direction. And Richard Dawkins literally comes out and tells us he's culturally a Christian. AKA he just meant he's officially a transphobe. I don't know if y'all knew what culturally Christian meant. I just wanted to fill it for those that don't know, for those that don't know the lingo, for those that don't speak the lingo. Culturally Christian is basically atheist for transphobe. That's what that means. For those that don't know, okay? I'm an educator. I had to educate you real quick. All right, so that's where we're at, gang. We're stuck between the cultural Christians of Richard Dawkins representing the new atheism and the atheist, the analytical atheists that wish Christianity were true. We are fucked.
Hiddenness. That, hey, he's open, but being open, having that intellectual humility is a stance back here. Desiring the truth of it, finding it more plausible the more that you speak about it. Those things need to be backed up more. And him not doing so, but still stating them and knowing the cultural impact that it has on the Christian community, I think is strange, to say again, the very least. So I don't want to beat a dead horse. We can keep this video short. And again, I admire his compassion, his intelligence, his ability to speak
honestly,
on these things
I think
such...
this is the issue, Ember. I've been I've been really attributing a lot of things to racism and white privilege and white boys. And, the truth is that the algorithm, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the algorithm isn't prejudiced, and maybe it's really just about the books. You guys do all the creative different stuff with the backdrops, and I went with the screen and like the room ambiance and like the studio aesthetic. No. Really, I'm just not willing to take accountability for my own failures. I really just needed to put a bunch of bookshelves behind me with a bunch of books. Make sure my PhDs are like really, really visible. You know how people have like the fucking YouTube plaques over their shoulder, so no matter like what the scene is, you can always see the YouTube plaque over the shoulder. I don't have a YouTube plaque yet, so I have to put my PhDs over the shoulder so people see that I'm a legit. And then I gotta wear like a bow tie. I should wear like a bow tie and a jacket every day, look like a real academic. You know what I'm saying? With a little like a globe on my desk and maybe like a skeleton on the other side. That's really what the problem is.
A graceful way, the moral courage of not having to necessarily choose a side. I don't think that he is betraying atheism, but I simply cannot understand what is happening. Tell me your thoughts. What am I missing? What clips have you seen that I haven't? Does this even matter? Is the impact overall better or worse by someone softening Christianity when they don't believe in it in this way, though they already do know the harm? It just seems like he's not connecting the dots. You tell me. So I'm going to shut up. Thanks for being here. I will hopefully see you Thursday for a new comment deep dive.
We got through that. All right. So that is where Brandon is struggling with all of this. All right. So before I get up out of here, I'm going to try to share this with y'all too. This comes to us from TMM, and let's just say they're not having the same struggle.
Whether Jesus was.
Here's Alex O'Connor to explain why he is so interested. In Jesus.
I talk about this and I debate this all the time, and I debate whether Jesus was God or whether he even claimed to be God and all of this kind of stuff.
Jesus certainly never explicitly said that he was God. He said a few things that apologists interpret as implying that he is.
PhDs are sexy, baby. Actually, I wanted to start a band of all like a band of all PhDs and call it the Pretty Hot Doctors. Because I'm a loser. All right.
But you have to apply some pretty creative hermeneutical contortionism to draw that conclusion. The stuff that he said that most heavily implies divinity is in the Gospel of John, which was the gospel that was written last, and if the quotes from that are accurate, one wonders why the other three gospel authors never saw fit to mention it. That seems like an awfully important detail to leave out.
But for me, the undeniable thing is that there's this extraordinary historical figure who did something extraordinary. And there's something really weird that happened that caused a bunch of people to start quite early on worshipping him, which is a very strange thing to do to a human being, especially in a Jewish culture.
How early on are we talking, and what do you mean by worship? I think Jesus believed that he was the prophesied Messiah, and he wasn't the first person to believe that about himself and gain a following.
This is what I'm saying, y'all. We don't know anything he said. We don't know what this motherfucker said. How did you get 2 million subscribers as an atheist content creator, and you out here sounding like he sounds like a Christian apologist? Oh my goodness. With friends like these, who needs enemies?
Not particularly strange. Jesus isn't even the only person in the New Testament who is portrayed as having a following. Chapter 8 of Acts mentions Simon the magician, who boasted that he was someone great, and all the people, both high and low, gave him their attention and exclaimed, "This man is rightly called the great power of God." They followed him because he had amazed them for a long time with his sorcery.
And so, to me, getting at the Gospels from a scholarly perspective helps me to understand who this historical figure was. That's the thing I'm really interested in, almost in the way that somebody might be really interested in Julius Caesar or in whether the Iliad, whether the Trojan War really happened and whether that kind of stuff.
He's literally making the argument that through the culture and through the religious devotion and through all of the bullshit in the Bible that is literally impossible to tie to a human Jesus, we can learn something of his essence. We can learn something of his character. We can learn something of the man himself and the real example. Like, gang, this is just religious apologetics. But see, where I'm with TMM is TMM just sees it for what it is. I don't know what this channel's about. I know they pop up on my feed and they be calling motherfuckers out. But see, this is what I'm talking about. This is a channel where they just do their own thing. They just make their own content, and they really don't give a fuck if they offend Alex O'Connor.
Stuff. I sort of take this approach.
That feels to me like that was your point of entry.
Yes. Yeah.
But you've had such a journey, and you've met so many amazing people, and you've debated so many different angles and things. Yeah. Where's it led you to?
It's led me to, well, I used to be.
Sorry, y'all, I gotta interrupt this here. This is actually really important to see. I'm gonna pull this back a little bit. When this guy goes to ask this question, I want you to pay very close attention to his body language.
I sort of take this approach.
That feels to me like that was your point of entry.
Yes. Yeah.
But you've had such a journey, and you've met so many amazing people, and you've debated so many different angles and things. Yeah. Where's it led you to?
See, this is what I mean about being so bad at this that they're moving in the wrong direction. He says, "Oh, it feels like that was your point of entry." But now you've debated so many different people, you've seen all these different perspectives, all these different angles, right? It really shows you what the apologist perspective thinks of discourse. When you deal in reality on reality terms, when you deal with science, for instance, or you deal with facts, or you're really a critical thinker or a skeptic, the point of discourse is supposed to be clarity. We're supposed to start maybe from conflicting positions, but through reason, discourse, maybe even some debate if we're really gonna, have waging positions really go at it. But eventually through, the actual true exchange of ideas, what is rational and what is supported by the evidence is supposed to then prevail, and then we move away with clarity. But you can tell what apologists really like is the opposite. They really think it's almost like it's supposed to create confusion. He's looking to say like, oh, this was your point of entry, and now you've debated all these perspectives and all these different angles, right? And now what he's really saying is, and now it's less clear to you than it was from your point of entry. Right. So that shows you again the controlled opposition, that really so much of why they're always winning is because even when we're having discourse and dialogue and our side is clearly given there's the business and there's nothing to come out of it, the openness to it is to be celebrated, because to them it moves somebody from a place of dogged opposition to their bullshit to an openness of hearing the ideas play together in the same arena. In other words, to them it is deliberate that it undermines the clarity of our position. And Alex O'Connor is feeding into that. He's feeding in the idea that if you just engage with them more, if you just engage with them more seriously, you too might lose the clarity you think you have about Christianity is bullshit. And you too might move towards this new openness where all of a sudden their side becomes more feasible and more rational to you than it was when you started. So again, I'm not being hyperbolic when I say he's so fucking bad at this, things are moving in the wrong direction.
It's led me to, well, I used to be quite on board with the new atheism stuff.
Christopher Hitchens was a lot of fun, but something that has sketched me out about the new atheist movement is that it is largely based in paranoia about Muslims after 2001. Hitchens, of course, was not exempted from that.
I've spoken about this a lot on my show.
What does that mean?
You know, like the sort of Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, it was really popular, the debates that they were doing, they called it new atheism.
Yeah.
And it was this body of like atheist thought with the God delusion, this kind of stuff, which was really popular. And it had this sort of quite strident, debate me, bro.
Gang, this is it. This is Alex O'Connor throwing us under the bus. This is him literally saying, and again, the new atheism had its problems, and TMM, the content, the channel that we're watching, correctly identified it. It was a bunch of conservative ass white dudes, and eventually they just started trading in straight up open Islamophobia and other right-wing heterodox positions. They're basically all fucking neoconservatives, with the exception of Daniel Dennett, who was more or less squeezed out and became the least relevant of the four, because he wasn't aligned with their hardcore right-wing shit. Same way PZ Myers was squeezed out of that group because he wasn't down with their preemptively anti-woke agenda. But what Alex O'Connor wants to do is say, no, the real problem with them wasn't their neoconness, wasn't their conservativeness, wasn't them betraying the cultural principles. It wasn't them undermining, an inclusive sort of secular humanism. The problem was they were too debate me, bro. They were too aggressive. They were too abrasive towards Christianity, right? So that's him throwing us under the bus, because again, that is the message we need now. We need the message that actually tells Christians, no, you're not engaging in good faith. And you need my motto, which is there's no honest way to defend something that isn't true. If you remember nothing I've ever said on this channel, remember this. There's no honest way to defend something that isn't true. That's the message we need to be bringing to Christians. And then we need to be telling them, yeah, your shit is fucking awful. It's evil. It was foundational in the American slave trade. It has been foundational to colonialism and the oppression of the global South. It is foundational in the oppression of women. It is foundational in the oppression of the working class. It is foundational in all of the problems of society. And he is taking everybody who is willing to shoulder the burden of championing that true message that society needs. He is comfortable throwing all of us under the bus because it's more profitable for him to make these people comfortable. So this is the Chuck Schumer dance. Pick me, pick me, pick me. I'm one of the good ones. I'll be nice to you. I'll capitulate. I'll tell you what you want to hear. And in return, you prop me up as the only atheist worth listening to, and we will collaborate on shutting down your more vocal opposition.
Attitude. And I was really swept up by that. I thought that was really exciting and cool. And I was beginning to sort of shake that off and grow up a bit, essentially. And then
he had to shake that off, and shake that off and grow up a bit, aka shake that off and realize that wasn't going to get him paid.
I said this is far more interesting and intricate, and I would say plausible than I'd given it credit for before.
When I first heard about atheism, I immediately thought it seemed much more sensible than theism, but I still thought maybe it might be possible for God to exist. The more I looked into it, the more I came to realize that the existence of God is not just implausible, but outright incoherent. The more I listened to Christians make their case for Christianity, the more problems I began to see with it. Not only did the Gospels have all kinds of problems of which I was previously unaware when I first started hearing Christians out, the very concept of God seemed more and more self-contradictory the more I learned about the theology and philosophy behind it.
So, I'm still not a Christian.
So I think he's quoting Alex O'Connor against Alex O'Connor. Like I said, it's like the Anarchasperian versus Anarchasperian. Oh, I appreciate it. But this is what we need, y'all. I had to give y'all both sides. I showed y'all the white boys fucking it up. Now I just show you a down-ass white boy getting it right.
Some people say to me, like,
it's a funny word though, that anyway.
Yeah.
Like I'm less and less certain about the word.
Yeah.
You know what somebody said to me the other day? You're like this. The period of greatest growth ever in the history of the church was from 33 AD to 350.
Yeah.
And during this time, there was no church buildings.
Yeah.
No sermons.
Yeah.
PC, let me just say thank you for answering the question of the day, and let me give it some love, and then maybe more people would get in the habit of answering the question of the day, because I do think of one every stream. The niceties, the sugarcoating, it's that Christian two-faced thing. It's hard to stop since you've been doing it your whole life, in my opinion. This is what I mean when I say we have to start to take our detriments seriously. We have to stop playing with Christianity, because one of the real things is, in a sense, and I don't mean this to be insulting, in a sense, we're all controlled opposition. And we're all controlled opposition because in the period of life when we should have been learning how to fight for ourselves, how to advocate for our needs, how to do mutual aid and all these things, most of us were indoctrinated in that cult. And so we did not learn those skills. But in its place, we didn't learn nothing. In its place, they gave us religious dogma and doctrine. And they gave us bullshit like pray for those who persecute you, love your enemies, all that type of shit. Turn the other cheek, right? Give up your own needs to make others comfortable, right? And so they actually gave us those tools. Now we actually need to fight against them. Well, what weapons do we have? We have the weapons they gave us. Did they give us the weapons that would actually be effective in fighting against them? No, of course not. They gave us the weapons that if we actually relied on the tools they gave us, they will remain in power. So that means, not to like totally overanalyze your comment here, but it's an important point to make, is that, yeah, that fake thing, that sugarcoating, that niceness, that sort of accommodating things we know we shouldn't be accommodating, that is a very serious strategic part of the way they brainwashed us. And so even though we've let go of the religious dogma and the religious beliefs themselves, we're still relearning how to actually deal with conflict. So yeah, it's a serious problem. We literally have to unlearn what they taught us and then re-educate ourselves. And it's very difficult to do that as an adult, especially when you're, not tied in with the cohort like you are when you're going through school.
And no Bible.
Yeah.
And like we get very tied up in all of those things and the labels and even the phrase Christian.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not sure where for me it feels quite like man-made, these sort of words.
Yeah, and that is where I can definitely agree with, especially a Christian of your kind, which is to say someone who will say that and recognize that. Because some people place a lot of stock, particularly Catholics, they place a lot of stock in church tradition and the traditions that developed after Nicaea.
If you ask some apologists how they know that what they believe about God is accurate, they'll say because it's consistent.
That's the real struggle here for me, Kyle, is I think this is where these guys are really failing us. I think the real failure of the Brandons and the Alex O'Connors of the world is that they should be way-making. They should be sitting down and saying, hey, listen, Cliff Kineckley, I know that you're willing to sit down with me today. I'm role-playing Alex O'Connor, y'all. Cliff Kineckley, I know you and Stuart, you're willing to sit down here with me today and debate biblical slavery. But I got to tell you, man, I think about all those Black people who are the descendants of American slavery. And I think about the continued struggle of Black people for freedom and self-determination. And I wonder how you reconcile the role of Christianity in the American slave trade, literally with one of the earliest slave ships being named Jesus. And I wonder how you would you be willing to sit down with a Black atheist and right? Like that would be awesome. Hey, Cliff Kineckley, I know you think that hey Sean McDowell, I know you think that it's a really fun time to go to college gymnasiums and pretend to be an atheist for a day. But when you straw man atheists like that, it really does a disservice to Christians who need to understand people who don't think and believe the way they do. And when you look at what's going on in the world with the LGBT community and particularly the struggles of trans people, don't you think that if this gospel message is really about loving the least of these, that there's a real problem that Christianity seems to be contributing to the oppression of the least of these rather than the uplifting? Right? There's a way you could be the white boy atheist that has bigger channels than any of us could fucking dream of, and you could take advantage of that platform in such a way that is literally, rather than gatekeeping, is literally, that's why I call it way making. You're opening doors, you're creating path. You're saying next week on Alex O'Connor, I'm going to sit down with Dr. J. Bundy and Ember and Maya Atkinson, and we're going to have a panel. Right? Like, y'all could be doing that type of shit, but never. So they table all of those issues to keep them comfortable, because they feel like if they ever confront them with the racism and the misogyny or whatever, they won't get invited back. And since the goal is to get invited back and make that paper, they're never going to have that conversation. So then when our community rolls through and tries to have that conversation, it's easier to just silence us because we're not being nice, like Alex O'Connor.
With the Bible. But how did people know that what they believed was revelation from God really was before there ever was a Bible? Maybe apologists would say that Christians knew that what they believed about Jesus was accurate because he fulfilled Old Testament prophecies, even though he didn't. But even if he did, how did the folks who wrote the earliest books of the Old Testament know that what they believed to be revelation from God really was revelation from God, as opposed to delusions? They didn't have any pre-existing scripture.
This is dead on. We were made to believe that the ability to defend was the desire to offend. That's absolutely. And you see that in our own community, right? You see how instinctively those of us that advocate for a more direct approach are often assumed to be seeking to offend others or careless about offending others. And it's always amazing to me, because I sometimes tell people, one thing I've gotten really clear on is trying not to be strawmanned. And I'll say, like, whoa, like, I never said anything about deliberately offending people. I said to be honest with them, just speak your truth, have the courage of your convictions. But it's amazing, as soon as I say speak the truth to them, people just jump straight to, oh, well, then you're willing to offend them. And you're like, oh, okay, well, then I guess you realize that the truth is offensive to them, right? Or, people will straw man you, say, well, I think people should have the rights to practice their religious beliefs and their religious customs, and I'm not trying to take away. And I said, have you ever heard any of us advocate for taking away their rights, their legal rights to practice their faith? None of us have ever said that. We've said, tell them you don't agree with them and you think they're wrong. Why is it that me saying, tell them you don't agree with them and you think they're wrong, which, by the way, you don't agree with them and you think they're wrong? Tell me why you jump to, I'm trying to, like, bust in their temple with the police and have them all locked up, right? So you can see that, like, the way we sort of provide cover for them, or the way we, like, dive in front of the bus to stop it from hurting them, it just betrays this shit where we're just like, can you just be honest? And, like, all of a sudden people just take it to, like, the worst possible intention. And it's like, no, I just said tell them the truth. Damn.
To consult.
And I look at that with a similar kind of man-made skepticism. And I think to myself,
there you go, PC.
Yeah, like, it also gives me license to, when I look at the New Testament and I think, some scholars think that Paul maybe didn't write that letter and that's a big problem. But for someone like me, it's like, who cares? If I decide that Paul didn't write 1 Timothy, then I'll just look at the rest of it and I'll try to work out what came between the lines.
The consensus among New Testament scholars is that several of the epistles attributed to Paul were not actually written by Paul, but this is only a problem if you infer that Paul is any more reliable or authoritative than the forgers who tried to pass their own writings off as his. Maybe the authors weren't even trying to be deceptive, and they were writing under Paul's name the same way all of the Tom Clancy novels written after Tom Clancy died are not trying to pass themselves off as actually having been written by Tom Clancy. Maybe Paul had become more of a publishing brand.
A good friend of mine said to me once, when there's all this discussion about whether we have the real words of Jesus and whether the Gospels are accurate and whether it's all apocryphal stories, he said that because these were written from early church traditions, Jesus was a real man who was doing real things. We can still know a lot about the character of Jesus. He said, imagine if, for example, have you heard of the
so crazy too. Again, he's one of the most famous atheist content creators in the world, but he's so comfortable with the historical consensus that even historians of Jesus and historians of the New Testament can't convince their colleagues. So it's just so crazy. And then again, he's doing the apologist job for them. oh, these carry the oral traditions that were passed on, and they were passed on from recent traditions that started within the lifetime of Jesus. So we must be able to learn from them about the actual historical figure of Jesus. I mean, stop me when you sound like a motherfucking Christian apologist.
In drift, where like quotes get attributed to Churchill, even though he never said them. Same thing happens with C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
And he said, imagine if the only information you had historically about Churchill was a book of apocryphal quotes that he never actually said, but that people believed he said. You'd still get a pretty good picture.
Clearly lazy and condoning the bullshit. Exactly.
You'd get a pretty good picture of the kind of person people thought he was. Apocryphal quotes can entrench misconceptions about a person.
Worst case scenario, you still get a pretty good...
You're still getting an image. And so...
You're getting the person's reputation. That can be pretty far off from what the person was actually like.
I'm really interested in the scholarly stuff and like, well, did Jesus really say that? Was this an interpolation? Blah, blah, blah. Is this a translation thing? But the thing that's most fascinating to me below all of that is like, who was this guy and what was he doing to cause all of this?
I think this is another problem. Maybe we'll do an episode about it, but there's a whole problem of these atheist orgs. And again, I'm not really comfortable with them coming in now and sponsoring content. I know that's something a lot of people are celebrating because they're being told that, hey, this is a way to make some of these content creators more economically viable and basically make sure they don't have to do anything else for a living. But I kind of think they need to have to do something else for a living because, again, these organizations just have a bad history. They all have a bad history, and then they all have been involved in basically recapitulating the racism, sexism, misogyny, homophobia, and transphobia in these spaces under the brand of atheism. So now the thought of them picking and choosing who to infuse with extra dollars and extra support, providing them with extra stability, I just highly doubt it's going to be the type of atheist content creators that I find the most valuable. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. It's a bunch of confusion and confused timelines, and even if some stories got in there that shouldn't have got in there.
There was also clearly fudging of the details to make it look like Jesus' life conformed to prophecy, or how people at the time interpreted prophecy. For example, there was fudging of the details to make it look as though the Pharisees bore more responsibility than the Romans for the crucifixion because the early Christians wanted to avoid persecution.
The fact that this scramble to write all of this down and turn it into...
Even with the drift.
Exactly. It's still
I think
extremely interesting.
If we could time travel, you would be one of the rough gang. So would I. I don't think you'd be. I mean, even though you kind of like the headlines of
there's a lot of that going around, Ember, and I think it's incredibly problematic, especially because so many of us just don't have access to in-person community, especially of the secular variety, and a lot of us don't even have the means to get to IRL events, even when that opportunity comes up. So for me, like having met people at the Ark Encounter and stuff like that, and that being my first time meeting people, I definitely think it's super important that we support our online communities by becoming a part of each other's lives IRL when we can. But I will never take that to the point of diminishing the significance of our online communities, and I get very frustrated when people do.
Professor sort of Oxford. Well, are you a professor?
I'm not a professor. No.
You're very clever. Do you know what I mean? That could potentially like put you into the Pharisee type thing. Right. But you are the opposite. You are what you would have been running wild with Jesus, I think.
Yeah, I like
and also, I sort of always got the feel with Jesus. He loved the challenge. He loved the riposte. He loved the mental, verbal, theological challenges.
A lot of jousting, yeah.
He's portrayed as loving it. I don't think this portrayal is so much an accurate depiction of Jesus rebutting challenges as it is the gospel authors rebutting challenges to their religion and attributing these arguments to Jesus to give them authority.
Yeah, a lot
of jousting and brilliant sort of responses that have never been better. You know, whether it's in should we pay our taxes to Caesar or not? The Pharisees are trying to trip him up.
Mm-hmm.
This passage about rendering...
And again, like, this is the shit that drives me crazy for Alex to sit there and, amen, brother, all of this stuff. And it's like, again, like, Christians have to be told, like, I'm sorry, even your shit that's super impressive is really mundane. And it's actually insulting, because a lot of what Christians are trying to say is that Jesus invented this. Like, if it wasn't for Jesus, we would have never heard render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Like, are you fucking stupid? Like, motherfuckers had to pay taxes to the fucking empire, and it was wise to do so your ass didn't end up fucking locked up or worse. Or Jesus saying, pay a laborer, what his worth in daily wages. Like, again, if that's profound to you, right? Like, that's this whole idea of, like, your God is love, and, like, the world wouldn't know what love is if not for your God fucking teaching us. Like, we have to stop legitimizing these miraculous narratives to explain the most utterly mundane, obvious pro-human positions. Like, Jesus said, be nice to other people. Oh my God, let's fucking get on our knees and worship him, because we would have never figured that shit out.
To Caesar that which is Caesar's looks very much to me like an example of the New Testament authors trying to make Christianity look like it is not at all a threat to Roman authority to avoid persecution.
And yeah, sort of that response of just like, well, whose head is on the coin? Paid him and paid to God what is God. It's sort of brilliant.
Yeah, there's a brilliant.
And I would think that I see a beautiful alignment. Actually, I think if we would go back in time travel, you'd be running wild with him.
I think if you had a time machine and went back to meet Jesus, you'd be very disappointed.
Well, if the science ever gets there and we manage to go back in time, when people say, where would you go?
Yeah, where would you go? Come on, what would you do?
Of course, you'd go to meet Jesus.
I love it.
Sorry, I gotta call it out. That's like what we talked about earlier. Check out today's hot program with Ken Burns saying that the American Revolution was the most significant event in world history since the birth of Jesus. It's just, white man, please tell us that the narrative of the world enforced by the white man is the most important thing to you. I know it's, again, he's supposed to be legitimizing it with his Jesus was just such a profoundly important person that of course he made the most significant contribution in history, so I would have to go see. Like, but bro, like, all I hear is, like, again, somebody who's supposed to be a fucking atheist content creator, who's supposed to be telling people how fucked up and stupid Christianity is, instead basically say, yep, your guy Jesus, he's the most important human being that's ever lived. I can't think of, if I had unlimited resources and I could literally fucking travel back in time, if I could literally travel back in time to any point in history, to any place in the world, I would go see white Jesus in Jerusalem. Whatever, bro. Cool. Have fun.
Go. Would you go after the resurrection, or would you want to be there at the beginning? What about in the 17 years?
That's interesting. I think that the moment that you'd want to witness, if you could only have 5 minutes, would be the moment of the crucifixion. And the reason is that you would see that this was a man, the crucifixion happened. You would see whether the curtain tore, whether the sky opened, all of that kind of stuff. And it would give you all of that. I mean,
But they keep finding evidence for, like, the, I think in the sort of, the star stuff, and they said there was
like the solar eclipse.
The solar eclipse. I've actually done it. It's the exact kind of like
That's really interesting.
It's really interesting.
There was no solar eclipse during Jesus' crucifixion. There may have been a lunar eclipse that night, but a lunar eclipse would obviously not account for the passage in Matthew that says that the sun went dark from noon until 3 p.m. I'm a little surprised that Alex nodded along with this long debunked nonsense.
He's not along with all of it. That's his job.
Also, to see
that's
the
what he's
first
here to
ever
do.
Roman Christian. Well,
yes. Yeah.
And then again, like,
centurion.
and that's the thing too. That's what was so annoying about what Brandon said, because he was telling us, Alex O'Connor plays 5D chess. He's just so brilliant. He's just the biggest McBigley genius that's ever geniused. And then it's like he's sitting here like talking to middle America dude who's just got this basic fascination with literally the fucking bullshit Jesus narrative you were introduced to in Sunday school when you were 9. Okay, he's literally got the 9-year-old fucking Sunday school story going, and Alex is just sitting there eating it up like, oh yeah, man, I know. Yeah, this is the most significant shit in the history of history. And oh my goodness, Jesus, I can go anywhere. Jesus. Like, but this is the guys whose brilliance I'm just supposed to be so blown away by. Like, okay, cool. I'm watching Genius Maximus over here be blown away by a third grader's finger painting. Cool.
Truly, truly son of God. Yeah. This man is the son of God.
Matthew 27:54 says that the centurion said that after seeing the darkness and tearing of the curtain and a bunch of people rising from their graves, but the idea that Jesus was therefore the Son of God is a total non sequitur. As Christopher Hitchens said,
after all, Lazarus was raised, never said a word about it. The daughter of Jairus was raised, didn't say a thing about what she'd been through. And the Gospels tell us that at the time of the crucifixion, all the graves in Jerusalem opened and their occupants wandered around the streets.
I love this.
So that it seems the resurrection was something of a banality at the time. Not all of those people clearly were divinely conceived. So I'll give you all the miracles, and you'll still be left exactly where you are now, holding an empty sack.
Also, doesn't the term Son of God seem to imply a distinct entity from God? This also sounds like it may have been shoehorned in to make Jesus look more like the future ruler prophesied in 2 Daniel chapter 7. God says that a descendant of King David will establish a kingdom that lasts forever, and I will be his father, and he will be my son. This is still pretty hard to square with the fact that Jesus didn't establish any kingdom, let alone one which lasts forever. You have to come up with some abstruse exegesis to make this fit with what actually happened.
But then part of me
That's interesting you go to that moment. That's kind of cool.
But part of me would say, although, yeah, you want to see the resurrection, you want to see part of me wants to say I would just like to meet him walking along during his ministry and just say, listen, man, I've got 5 minutes.
Yes.
Who are you? Like,
are you the real deal?
Messiah? Are you God? Are you claiming to be God? Like, that's what I'd want to do. I'd want to ask that question.
It would certainly be great to get
and really annoying. Again, y'all, I hate the Bible. I don't read the Bible. I don't like the Bible. And I get angry anytime somebody sticks a Bible in my motherfucking face. But even I know that according to the Bible, the disciples asked Jesus about this. And what did he hit them with? I am who you say I am. Again, this motherfucker was God in person. He was the most perfect, the most loving, the most whatever the fuck. And here's Alex O'Connor saying, yeah, if I could, I'd pull him aside and say, hey, Jesus, I only got a minute. I just need you to straight up and down tell me whether or not you're God. Right. And didn't Pontius Pilate ask his ass too? He wouldn't tell the disciples straight up who he was. Wouldn't tell Pontius Pilate either. Pontius Pilate was like, bro, they trying to put you on that cross right now, but I don't really think you did anything wrong, man. Could you just confirm that you are or are not God real quick? And I could just let you go. We could just end this whole thing. And Jesus didn't give him a straight answer. But again, go back and tell me how great and wonderful of an example he is, of the most profound, awesome, ahead of his time. He was ahead of his time. He must have been ahead of his time because just like modern apologists, he didn't know how to answer a fucking question.
Confirmation as to whether Jesus really believed himself to be God incarnate. It's far from clear that he ever said that, and it takes a lot of pretty tortured hermeneutics to interpret anything he did say as meaning that.
And I mean, where would you go in Jesus' life?
So
5 minutes.
So it's so interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I think. So I mean, if you think of the biblical, so there are a lot of people that did get that chance and did it come exactly for that purpose. Mm-hmm. Say, I mean, one bit you might not have noticed that I really like is John the Baptist's relationship with Jesus. We kind of touched on it, but there's a really nice moment where if you think if anyone in the Jesus orbit is going to believe in him, it's John the Baptist.
It's interesting that Jesus gets baptized by John the Baptist, because if Jesus is God, why would God need to be baptized?
Mm-hmm. Known him from birth, kicking inside my mother's stomach whenever Jesus walked in the room. Like, I know this guy is a real deal. I'm baptizing the River Jordan, saying there was one is coming after me. Is like,
no, I guess it is example. He just gets to magically learn Arabic by osmosis or whatever.
Like, I know. Mm-hmm. And yet,
but it does beg the question of like, why in all his infinite wisdom and power, like, you got to explain to me how God is all knowing, but completely illiterate at the same time. And God actually did become man, but decided not to become man in the form of one that could read and write or understand the importance of documentary evidence. Guess I'm just asking questions.
He was in Herod's prison and he gets a chance to get a message to his disciples. The one thing he says is go back to Yeshua and just ask him, you really are who you say you are.
Who did Jesus say he was? It didn't seem at all to me that he ever said he was God. I think he believed himself to be the Messiah because he explicitly said that he heralded the coming of the kingdom of heaven, which more closely resembles what the Messiah is supposed to do. But the Messiah is never portrayed in the Old Testament as being God himself.
Is it you?
And I love that because, like, if even John the Baptist had doubts because of he's like being tortured and in a brutal prison and like we're human, you know, then I can have doubts. And it's like, he's been a real hero of mine, actually, John the Baptist.
Me too. I think he's my favorite person.
Well, it's interesting you say that.
So
if I were John the Baptist, I would wonder why this guy who says he's some kind of great
Ew. This is like when my dad is reminiscing about the different concerts he's been to. And somebody's saying, oh, Stevie Wonder, have you seen Earth, Wind, and Fire? Oh, but I don't know. Maybe Chicago. Chicago's a mean live act. But come on, let's bring it into the modern era. Like, have you seen Beyonce? Right? Like, that's what, listen to this.
Real hero of mine, actually, John the Baptist.
Me too.
Me too.
I think he's my favorite.
He's my favorite. He's my favorite. Oh, look at him reach out. He reaches out like he wants to squeeze the man's
He's
genitals.
been a real
Look
hero
at
of mine,
this.
actually,
Look at this.
John the Baptist.
Me too. I think he's my favorite person.
Well, it's interesting you say that.
So,
if I were John the
my
Baptist,
God,
I would
that was
wonder why this
gross.
guy who says he's some kind of
What
great religious
the
figure, like a
fuck?
prophet or a Messiah, would come to lowly old me to be baptized. It would be like if the Pope were asking to be baptized.
I'd be interested in what I like about him is that everyone always, Jesus says there's no one being greater.
yes.
He is the number one in the prophets,
That's
number
right.
one. And I always think, like, we think to be number one in life, you've got to be like a leader. You got to be like, I would think Moses or one of these people, like on top of the mountain, the big beard, the loud voice, the authority. It's how we're brought up to think these are our people in our lives who are the leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And yet it was the rough one who lived off the land and was wild and just loved this Yeshua character. Yeah.
Yeah.
And ate nothing but locusts, the one kosher bug.
And he said, no one better. Why do you like?
I think he's fascinating because he seems to be this sort of precursor to Jesus in a weird way. He's the introduction to Jesus. There's a bit of mystery as to who he was and why he was baptizing and why he found his way into the wilderness and what it means to preach a baptism for the repentance of sins and why Jesus would need to undergo that.
Yeah, it's almost like it doesn't make any sense.
I just figured it out, man. Y'all heard of wine moms? These are brunch dads. These are brunch dads, and the Bible is just their favorite book. Like they're just like a book club, and they're just all giddy about their favorite characters and their favorite chapters, and oh my goodness. But look, y'all, I'm sorry for wasting 2 hours of your life because we already knew the shit was going on. like I said, we clocked when Alex O'Connor changed the name of his channel probably a couple years ago now. We clocked this change. We talked about it. I pulled up his webpage. We read his new description, and then we've seen all the damn videos he done with right winger after right winger after right winger after right winger. So we've been knew what this was, but apparently the rest of the atheosphere is catching up, and apparently the other larger channels are clocking the way Alex has been moving recently and calling out some of the problems. And you could tell the difference, right? Some people, like, I think that's the problem. Let's just be honest with y'all. Everybody's got to decide how they want to handle this content creation thing. I'll be honest, I probably burned a lot of bridges. There's probably a lot of opportunities to collaborate or work with different channels that I'll probably never get because I said something then people don't like about them or about somebody that they're close to or one of their homies or whatever. To be honest, I decided a long time ago that like I just didn't feel like the growth was really there for me. I didn't feel like those opportunities were forthcoming anyway. So it made it real easy to say like I don't give a fuck. I'm just gonna do what me and my peoples want to do, and like we're just gonna ride it out because ain't nobody really coming along trying to help us like that anyway. So I made that decision long years ago. So I just don't give a shit anymore. I'm always surprised when somebody hasn't already decided that they'll never work with me. I'm like, they don't hate me already off rip. Oh, cool. Let's do it. Shit, let's link up. But yeah, so you see a lot of these guys, they really don't want to ruffle feathers because they don't want to upset larger atheist content creators. And for people who really want to do this for a living, I guess that's a really important consideration for them. I think it does a tremendous disservice to the community, but I also don't really see this space as a community. I see us building community on YouTube and us having built community within the space, but I don't consider every atheist channel part of our community. It's like we have a very small kind of out in our own neighborhood of YouTube doing our own thing. We interact with some of those channels, but we don't really know them like that. But yeah, so but then you see people like TMM and other people who could just see it for what it is, call it out for what it is. They're not really worried about upsetting Alex O'Connor or that, Piers Morgan isn't going to call them because they're not a nice analytical atheist or whatever. So it was just kind of refreshing because I was feeling really frustrated with the Brandon video. And then when I found the TMM video and he was really called it out, I was like, all right, at least I'm not the only person who's just sick of this fucking shit. All right, y'all, I got to get up out of here though. I got to go teach tomorrow. So I need to get ready for bed and get myself something to eat. So I'm going to call it a night so I can get some rest. Thanks to everybody for coming out. Thanks to the mods. If you're watching later, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. All that stuff really, really does help in the algorithm. And yeah, tune in to Skeptic Haven tomorrow night at 8 for Black Free Thinkers. All right, gang. Love y'all. Appreciate everybody.